shift is our C shift is our operations division. And then we have our fire prevention division, which is oversaw by the fire chief. In the department here, I oversee the fire prevention division as the fire marshal, and then our fire inspector and our hazardous materials inspector to carry out the task in that division. So when we break it down and how we get everything done in the department, it starts with the fire administration, and the fire administration division supports the needs of the department and making sure that we are where we're going and where we're headed in the department is understood. We oversee the budget. We develop policy and procedures and standard operating guidelines to ensure effectiveness and efficiency in the field. As I mentioned, we do support all aspects of the department, making sure that everybody has what they need to complete their task. There's grant submittals, there's and management of the grants. We have to develop and foster regional partnerships. For our department, we interact a lot with neighboring agencies. We are a part of a unified response system that allows us to interconnect and respond from departments all the way out from Burbank to Montebello, and as close as obviously neighboring cities as Arcadia and San Marino and Sierra Madre. And then we make sure that we are staying in close connection with our data and our trends and making sure that we understand what's going on within our community to make sure we are meeting the needs of our community first. So as I mentioned, our A shift oversees our community reduction and disaster preparedness division. And that really, for us, the community risk reduction is making sure we are going out and actually understanding what's going on in our community, because we want to reduce the risk that our community is exposed to. Just as Dylan mentioned, we want to make sure that we are preventing those emergencies before they happen, and we are going out and being the face that our community needs to understand what can they do to actually prevent those emergencies or those risks that they're associated with. Our community risk reduction, as I mentioned, is oversaw by our A shift and our A shift division chief, who is Sean Morton. We have 3 captains that oversee aspects of that division: our community risk reduction coordinator, our fire captain that oversees our grants within that division, and then our fire captain oversees our cadet program in that division. Our fire captain that oversees our community risk reduction, or the coordinator there, oversees our emergency preparedness coordinator, which is Susie Dobson. In that program, in that division, we oversee our CERT program, our BERT program, and we also oversee our cadet and our explorer program. As I mentioned to you before, our cadet program is something that really opens a door to our youth and making sure that they have a path in the fire service. So for us, it's pretty much just an internship program that individuals that have completed their fire academy and they have their EMT, they come in and they volunteer 1 24-hour shift a week. And really, it shows them the actual steps they need to take to become a firefighter. It's our give back to the fire service and making sure we're developing future firefighters. We also oversee our fire investigation program in that division. Our fire investigation program consists of 2 lead investigators. These lead investigators are part of the Verdugo Fire Investigator Task Force. What that is, our 2 lead investigators go out throughout the region and investigate fires, and vice versa. There's investigators that may be in our community and assisting with the fire. Just as Dylan mentioned, on Monday, a few weeks back, we had a fire, and we had an investigator there from San Marino along with our own investigator. And it really allows us to connect with the region and understand what's going on a larger scale and making sure that we help each other out when the need is there. And also, in addition to these programs that I mentioned, we oversee our disaster preparedness program in our emergency operations center. And that really makes sure that we are in touch with what disasters our community is faced with and what can be faced with. As we saw with the Bobcat fire a few years back, it really requires our community, our staff, to come together and develop a plan and actually lead the city forward with what needs to get done in those disasters. I would ask if there was any questions now, but I know I spoke to Alex and she mentioned that we're holding questions to the end of the presentation. So I'll continue on with our training and emergency services division. As we all know, the fire department, in addition to servicing the community in the fire suppression aspect, emergency services really is the majority of what we do day in, day out. Here in the fire department, we have our own paramedics, and we provide transportation via private ambulance service. For the majority of our fire captains and our engineers, our paramedics as well, they're not functioning in the role, but we have 12 full-time paramedics that operate in 2 paramedic squads to serve the community. In the training side of the actual division, we make sure we develop entry-level and promotional exams. We develop training evaluations and standards, and we really have to make sure we meet the training mandates and the requirements that are set forth for the fire service. And then also, as we saw during the COVID pandemic, as policies and procedures change, we have to make sure that we are following those procedures that are set by the LA County EMS agency. And then as things go on, we require our continued education. We have to make sure our personnel are certified and licensed appropriately to make sure that we are meeting those requirements set by the EMS agency. One of the things that is unique to our department is we are a part of a regional task force, our USAR program. The Urgent Search and Rescue Program task force. We're a part of other agencies throughout the region that we come together, and actually when that need is there for whether that be a mudslide that we saw in Yucaipa a few months back, our personnel were able to respond to that, or a brush fire that takes place in Paradise, and our personnel were out there evaluating the neighborhoods and making sure that everybody was searched, every property was searched, and were accounted for. And that, again, that program started really taking place about 15 years ago. We really got into that program, and where it's developed to today is really impressive to see where our department and as well as neighboring agencies have taken the program into where we are a task force that is recognized throughout the state and is called on whenever the emergency is needed. Our operations division makes sure that we have effective and efficient service delivery is maintained for our community. When we think of our fire engines responding out to emergencies, a lot of times, you know, we see them, we know they're there, but how do they make sure we are maintaining our equipment to make sure we are responsive to our community? And that is through our operations division. Some of the programs that are run in our operations division are our apparatus maintenance program, our tools and equipment procurement and maintenance program, our self-contained breathing apparatus program, our communications program, our personal protective equipment program. And then also in our operations, we develop SOPs and SOGs, which are standard operating procedures and standard operating guidelines, to make sure that in the emergency setting, our personnel understand what needs to take place. And they have certain things established to where in that emergency setting, we don't really have to do much thinking. When the emergency takes place, we have to do certain steps first, and then it allows us to clear our mind so that we understand what needs to take place and we can develop plans to mitigate that emergency. That division is also ran by 3 captains and a shift that is oversaw by our division chief, and that operations division is oversaw by Brian Patrick. So as you see the header there, we have a 24/7 operation, and our daily staffing consists of, we have 2 fire stations. The station that everyone may be aware of is there on Lemon Avenue. And then our second station is down on Myrtle in our south end of town. We have at Station 1, we have 9 firefighters staffed daily, and at Station 2, we have 5 firefighters staffed daily. At Station 1, we have our battalion chief, our truck 101, which is staffed by a captain, engineer, and firefighter. Engine 101, which is staffed by a captain, engineer, firefighter as well. And as I mentioned before, our squads are staffed by 2 firefighter paramedics. At Station 1 and 2, we have 1 engine company staffed by a captain, engineer, and a firefighter, and a squad, which is staffed by, again, our 2 firefighter paramedics. Those are 24/7 staffed. We run a shift schedule. We have 3 shifts that are A, B, and C shift, and we are on a 48-96 schedule. So our personnel are on duty 48 hours at a time, and then they are off for a 96-hour period. And then we cycle that through to make sure we're consistently staffed. Again, you'll be hearing from our fire prevention inspector, Laura Bednar, but our fire prevention bureau is staffed by our fire inspector and our hazardous materials inspector. The division enforces fire code, conducts state mandated inspections, conducts hazardous materials inspections, assists shift personnel with training and inspection, and then conducts plan review. As we see throughout the community, there is a great deal of development going on, and that requires our fire inspector to actually make sure they're conducting those inspections, making sure that the codes are being followed, and working closely with our community development department to make sure that everything is going as smooth as it could be. Again, I'll leave some of the discussion for Laura, because I know she will be touching base on some fire safety aspects, but our Fire Prevention Bureau is really tasked with a great deal of responsibility to make sure that our community is safe. Again, if you hear the term all risk agency is really something that helps us explain what it is that the fire department does. There isn't a risk that we are faced with that our fire department doesn't respond to. As you see in the pictures there, we have our brush fires, we have traffic accidents, we have your structure fires, we have our urban search and rescue responses, and then you see there that I believe that image is from mudslides that our personnel were on in Mendocino. So really, whatever the response and the emergency is, our fire department is here to meet those needs and making sure that we are prepared and ready to serve the community. One of the things that we'll touch on is our community service and engagement. Last weekend, we were able to come out and serve a neighborhood of installing smoke alarms. It's one of the things that we love to do is get out in the community and serve in a different way rather than just it being the emergencies that we go on. We were able to respond or to install smoke alarms in approximately 20 homes and really make a difference in the homes and make sure those homes are safer. We did that in conjunction with the American Red Cross and with our CERT team, as well as our line personnel getting out there installing smoke alarms. So I will say, to promote that program, if you are in need of a smoke alarm in your home, please reach out to the fire department. We will get you on our list, and we will get out there and install smoke alarms and give you a bit of safety knowledge about what needs to take place in your home. The smoke alarms are installed free of charge. They are 10-year battery smoke alarms, so you don't need to change those batteries out once it's installed. But please make sure you contact us if you do have a need for smoke alarms. Again, everything you heard today regarding the fire department, we function under the organizational mission of the city, which is we exist to serve the people of Monrovia to create a community that offers a premier quality of life. To the core, that is what we are here to do. We are here to make sure our community has everything it needs to offer that premier quality of life. And I really do say, with the support of the city council, the support of our city manager, we are able to do that with relative ease. And also, I will say, the support of the community. It is really easy to meet the needs of the community when you have the support of the community. So I thank you for your time. And without further ado, we will open up questions.
Alrighty, so again, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat. We haven't gotten any so far, but definitely ask them now, because our presenters, this is their time to answer those questions. So give 1 couple more seconds for people to type anything to submit. And then Chief Sanchez, do you mind just taking down your presentation and sharing your presentation?
I will.
Perfect. Then I'll go ahead and share my screen. So, okay, so Chief Sanchez, we have, actually we have Mayor Becky Shevlin raising her hand, so perfect.
I just wanted to say great presentation and great job by our fire department. That's all. Didn't have a question. Just wanted to say thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Shevlin. I appreciate it.
I think if anything, Chief, I think it's just you did justice for the presentation. But actually, we actually have one question. Are our citizens still able to register their special needs members with the agency so that CERT can follow up when needed? That is the question in the chat.
Yes, they are able to register via our red list, and Susie Dobson will likely have something she can touch on in her presentation. But if you reach out to the fire department, we will get those people on the red list, we call it, to make sure we touch base with them in any emergency situation.
Perfect. Awesome.
Actually, I can hop on that also. It is on our website, but my email will be at the end of my presentation. And if you email me directly, I can send you the form for that.
Perfect. Awesome. Great team over here. Thank you, guys. So other than that, it's all just thank you for the presentation, Chiefs. So thank you again. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and move forward with our next presenter, which is going to be, oh, I'm so sorry. Scratch that. One of our police officers, our new police officers, was able to come in. So I will just briefly let him go ahead and welcome himself and say hello to the community. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Officer Sean Wang. I just recently graduated from San Bernardino's Sheriff's Academy. So I'm brand new, still on training over here, excited to be here. A little bit about me. I grew up here in Arcadia, right next to Monrovia. But I've always been to Monrovia all the time throughout my childhood, coming to the street fairs and everything like that. So it's like a second home to me. I recently in 2021 graduated from UC Riverside as a music major. But I found that law enforcement is pretty fun through a job at UC Riverside's police department as a community service officer. So that's got everything kickstarted for this. But I'm excited to be here. I'm honored to be a part of this city, working for the station, working for the city. And thank you for having me. And I hope I get to meet y'all sometime soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. So if you guys see him out in the community, feel free to say hello and welcome him to the community. So now I'm going to go ahead and welcome our next presenter, Laura Bednar, our fire instructor. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up her presentation. 1 second. Okay.
Well, while Alex is bringing it up, I can just share a little bit about myself because I actually didn't put it in the PowerPoint like Chief did. So my name's Laura. I've been with the City of Monrovia for 8 years now, 8.5. And my background is in fire prevention for most of my career. I did spend a very brief time on the operations side as a firefighter. So I can bring a little bit of that knowledge to the prevention side, which most people in prevention have not been on, both sides. So it helps a little bit because in the role I play in Monrovia, what I'm doing is mostly anything that has to do with construction. So even if it's just a small improvement or addition to a home, or if it's the giant apartment complexes that you see going up, I'm involved from the very beginning of the planning stages all the way through the plan review to the actual inspections on site. So and it's a lot of work, especially now with all of these buildings coming in, but it's a lot of fun. I actually don't live near Monrovia, but the reason I chose Monrovia as a place to work is just because it's so different from San Clemente where I live. I love being able to see deer and bear and go hike, well, in the woods. At least I used to before the park closed. But Monrovia is a great city. I love it that it's a small department. And I'm very happy to be here. So what I thought I would do today for the presentation is talk about holiday fire safety, as you can see on the slide, just because that's what's coming up. And as Dylan said, we're coming into a period where there's a lot more activity that's not normal in the home, and fires tend to start to happen at that time. So I thought I'd discuss some of the common things that we can avoid. I think, can I control this, Alex? Oh, there we go. So we have our Monrovia fire turkey. And this is just a little statistic, because Thanksgiving Day happens, because of the amount of cooking that's going on, 3 times the average daily home fires occur on Thanksgiving Day alone. So it's a day to definitely be a little bit more careful and watch what's going on. So this kind of represents what's happening in the kitchen. It's like, you're doing a bunch of things at once. And go back to can we go back? It's running away. Okay. So, everything's going on. You've got family, you've got kids, you've got animals, you've got, a bunch of different things cooking that you might not normally do at once. So that one of the main things is the phrase "stand by your pan." If you are cooking something, you absolutely want to stay in the kitchen by it. You don't want to leave. If you have to leave, then you get somebody to watch that pan for you, because it only takes a second for whatever in there is cooking to burn, and then by the time you get back, it's out of control. So stand by your pan is an easy phrase to remember. And the next graphic, we just have, if you're cooking, try not to wear long sleeves like this, because that can catch fire either through the burner or get into the hot liquid or whatever it is that you're burning or you're cooking, hopefully not burning. And just an apron with short sleeves and even gloves, mitts or gloves is what we recommend while you're cooking. So keep an eye on what you fry is another, it's just almost the same thing as stand by your pan, but basically if you're frying, that means you've got oil, which is more dangerous than just boiling something or cooking something without oil. Please keep aware that if you do have an oil fire, there's several things you can do, but number one, you don't put water on it. I recommend that you have an extinguisher in your kitchen. If you have one, make sure that it's still good. They're good for a long time. One of the best ways to be able to determine if that extinguisher is still good, if it doesn't have a gauge, is to just rock it back and forth. And if you feel like what feels like chunks inside, then your extinguisher is no longer good. But if you do have a gauge, it needs to be in the green arrow portion. Or if you rock it back and forth and it just feels like nothing's going on, then your extinguisher is still good. So I definitely keep that. If for some reason you don't have an extinguisher when you have a fire, baking soda is always a good alternative. And then also we'll show you in another slide soon what another option would be. A lot of times we've seen cooking fires start with animals. They get curious as to what's on the stove if you're not around, even if you're not cooking. There's a video, I didn't put it on here, but there's a video of a dog. He's home alone. There's pizza boxes on top of the oven. He smells the pizza, so he gets up like this dog. And then as he's pawing to try to get to the pizza box, he turns on the burner, which then lights the pizza box, which then lights the kitchen. So it's just, I personally don't put anything on my stove. I don't use it for storage because you never know what can happen, especially if you have animals, cats, dogs, whatever you have that could accidentally turn on the burners, even children, if you're not attending. So I don't store anything on my stove or in my oven for that reason, but just be ultra aware, especially if, over the holiday season, you have family bringing their animals by, this, and you're not used to dogs in the kitchen, that this, kind of thing is definitely something common because they smell the food. Cooking, when you're cooking, as if you have kids or animals as well, if you have the pot handle turned towards the front, they're easy to grab. The hot liquid can spill. You don't want to have scald burns on, even if it's not a child in the home grabbing like this video or this picture. If you walk by and you snag your clothing on that pan handle turned to the front, that can spill and just cause some serious burns. So turn the pot handles to the back of the stove to prevent any kinds of burns or spills like that. Again, this goes back to the storage on the stove. Just keep it all off, just for safety reasons, even if it's not the holidays. Just, we did have a fire in a city I worked in where people were moving. They were moving into their apartment. They were just trying to hurry, and they put a bunch of boxes on the stove just because there were kitchen boxes. And then they left to get the new load. Somehow one of the boxes had touched one of the burner dials, and then they came back to no apartment because it caught on fire while they were gone to the next load. If something does flare up, there's a couple of ways to contain that. Please, please, please do not take the pan and run through the house outside because you're going to be burning contents on your way, and then you're going to start spot fires. The lid is the easiest way because, if you choke out the oxygen of a fire, then you will effectively put the fire out. So a lid onto the pan is the easiest way. You can also turn off the heat, which it shows in the third slide on the oven, but that also works on the stove. If you just turn off the heat source, then you're also going to remove the cause of the fire. So if you're cooking, just keep the appropriate size lid nearby so you can do that. So we have our turkey fryers, which are very, very popular. We're going to go into kind of some Thanksgiving themed stuff here. If you do use a fryer, absolutely, it has to be done outdoors. You cannot use these things indoors. They're actually very dangerous. You have to be very careful with these. A lot of times, people are drinking and they're using these and they're just not thinking as clearly as they normally would be. And this is when the accidents happen, because we do see a lot of accidents with turkey fryers. So just make sure that the turkey fryer is on a steady level surface, away from anything that can burn. As you can see, this person, it's out in the middle of their driveway. There's nothing around. It's hard to see, but at the top of the picture, we're going to go into it in a minute, but he's got some gloves on. That's also another recommendation. But just you just need it away from anything that is flammable or combustible. The turkey needs to be absolutely dry. So when you thaw the turkey, you also need to pat it dry with paper towels before you attempt to put it into the oil, because that's what is causing the reaction, is the water with the oil. Like we talked about with an oil fire, you can't put it out with water. So if there's water on the turkey, that's what causes the flare-ups. What a good thing to do would be to put the turkey in a bag and then put water in your fryer. And then put the turkey in the sealed bag into the fryer to see how much, if you've got too much water in there, if it overflows, then that means you can't fill that oil, the oil up to that level either. So what you're doing is testing how much oil you should put in. Obviously, you're not getting the turkey wet because you're putting it in the sealed bag. But that way, if the oil is going to overflow everywhere or not. They usually have an indication line on these fryers, but sometimes it depends on the size of your turkey as well. So highly recommend that you test the overflow first, and then use an oil with a higher smoking point, because if you use one with a lower smoking point, that's more prone to fires. And then, as you can see, he still has the gloves on in this picture, just in case anything is to overflow or splash, then it's not going to burn you or your clothes. Can I do that? Okay, so this is a video of what happens. This isn't a test lab, and it does show, it's got a bunch of different, I guess, unsafe factors to the video. You'll see that they're doing it too close to combustibles. They're not using a turkey. I'm waiting for the video to come up. They're not using a turkey that's completely thawed, so the water does react. And then they're actually trying to put it out with water as well. So they're on a wooden deck. They've got some combustibles near them, and they're too close to their house. So when they put it in, the oil splashes out, catches fire. But you see how this is a better picture because it's zoomed out. It actually catches the roof on fire, when it looked like at first, oh, it was just a little spot fire on the deck, but the oil has dripped underneath. So now when you go to try to put it out with like your garden hose or something like that, you're just actually making it worse. And now your house is on fire. And you can see even in this video, like how quickly smoke moves. People think they have an average of about 5 minutes to get out of their house if it catches on fire. That's actually not true at all. We'll see it in a little bit. We'll see another video, but with today's combustibles, the way furniture is made today versus 30 years ago, it burns a lot faster. So they say you have between 30 seconds and 3 minutes to get out of your house.
Laura?
This was, showing the how bad a turkey fire can get, especially if you're doing multiple things wrong.
Sorry, Laura, you broke out for just a
I know.
second.
Sorry. What was the last part you heard?
That it takes 30 seconds.
30 seconds to 3 minutes, which is it's not very much time, especially if you're sleeping. So that's why the importance of smoke detectors, smoke alarms, even fire sprinklers in your home is really important to help alert you, because those things are mostly meant to get you out of the house on time. Sprinklers will put out the fire for the most part, most times, but what they're designed to do is it's for life safety, not for property protection. So even if you put fire sprinklers in your homes, it's just buying you time to get out. So that's the main thing, is to have as many preventative alerting and preventative, what's the word I'm looking for? You need to have working smoke detectors. If you have fire sprinklers, maintain those, because those will get you out safely. So here, moving into Christmas, there's a bunch of things in this one picture that we can talk about. Number one is having the candles too close to curtains. Candles are beautiful. Candles are great. One thing that I really like is that they've invented candles that are artificial, but now look very realistic with the flickering, and even scented. So I recommend those, but I also enjoy, real candles as well. So I think that if you are to have real candles, you just have to be ultra, careful. The first thing is to not have them too close to curtains, obviously. And then second is try to remember to blow them out before you leave the room, the house, go to sleep for the night, that kind of thing, because sometimes it's very easy, especially if you don't light them often, or if they're in a jar, to forget that they're on. So you don't want to have, obviously if there's been cases of candles burning, so long that they burn out of their container, or they break their container and then catch whatever is on fire next to them. I'm going to skip down to number 4. You just whatever it's okay. Whatever you have your candles on, make sure that it's a level surface, so that they're not sliding, or if somebody bumps the table, that it's not wobbly, so that it knocks the candles off. For number 3, as far as with the Christmas tree lights, when you go to put them on, we all have our lights in storage. We go to use them again. Check them before you use them, because you never know what's happened in storage. Little critters get into your garage or wherever you're keeping them, and they can chew on the cords. Make sure that all of the cords are not frayed, and that they're intact, and that they're in working condition. And if they're not, I know, it's an expense, but get new ones, because the frayed cords can definitely cause fires. You also want to keep your tree at least 3 feet from any heat sources, because that's going to dry out the tree a lot faster than it normally would dry. And then, you have this living / dead tree in your house for over a month, and they do dry out, and they do, that is more prone to fire, especially with any heat sources or lights on them. And then also make sure when you bring your tree home, if it's a real tree, you put a fresh cut on it at least 2 inches in. And also you want to make sure that water is changed on a very regular basis to keep it as hydrated as possible. So we're going to show, this is the fire, 2 identical situations with identical furniture. One is a tree that's been watered every day. One is a tree that has not. And we can see the difference in how fast the fire spreads.
Did you want the volume for this one, Laura?
No, I think.
Is it not showing the video?
No.
Oh, that's weird. That's weird. Sorry,
No problem.
my screen sharing paused for a second. Sorry about that. Ay, technology. Hold on. And everybody see it now?
Yes.
Okay. I was just enjoying the video myself.
It'll start over at 0 seconds in a minute here. It's just a preview. So keep in mind, this test is done in, I mean, even though there's a ceiling, it's also done like the camera's showing this room, but it's in a bigger warehouse. So if this is your house, the fire wouldn't be able to vent the way it is here. And the smoke level would already be down to probably that level of that chair, which means that you can't see anything or breathe anything. So, and that's the whole crawl under smoke is applicable, but it's, as you can see, you don't have a lot of time. And even now the smoke is banking down, but not nearly what it would be if there was a continuous ceiling, like if it was in your house. Meanwhile, the water tree is, probably setting off a smoke alarm, but it's not destroying your whole entire house or your life. And this is only a minute in, and you can see how much damage has already been done.
Did you want me to let the video go to the end?
I don't think we have, no, that's good. I think the effect is.
Okay. Let me go ahead and share again.
Thank you, Alex.
Of course, no problem. Okay.
So just some final tips. Make sure that your lights, however you're using them, there's indoor lights, there's outdoor lights, there's some that are rated for both, but make sure that you're checking to see what they're rated for and you're using them appropriately. Indoor lights are not meant to withstand the elements. So it's just, you want to use them for whatever the manufacturer rated them as. And then also you want to check how many strands you can connect, because I know it's easier just to keep connecting them, but that's also what is going to cause fires. We mentioned before, throw out any damaged strands and then blow out candles or lights. Myself, I had an incident with my own Christmas tree. Luckily, I was awake, and because it's great to have Christmas lights on during the night. It's very peaceful and calming, but I was sitting in my living room and I saw something. I was like, is that smoke? And I looked at my Christmas tree and one of the lights was actually smoking. And I was like, oh, great. So if I had gone to sleep, who knows, how long it would have been before a smoke detector detected it or what. So luckily I was able to see it and just go and unplug the tree and then take that strand out. But I would, unplug them and turn them off before you go to sleep as well. And that's pretty much all I have.
Then for anyone out there who has any questions, and if any of you didn't see, Laura has a pet bird, Willie.
I'm trying to keep her out of the screen. Here she is. Hold on.
That's Willie, everyone.
Yeah. If I don't hold her, she starts getting mad that I'm talking to someone else. So she's
perfect. Actually, you have a raised hand from Mayor Evelyn.
Hi, Mayor.
Oh, you're
there. Hi there. It's not a question. My ears perked up when you were talking about candles.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of people maybe think, oh, that wouldn't happen to me, and I'm being very careful. Quite a few years ago, but at work, I had a candle burning. It was a small candle, but I had it on a plate. It was actually specifically for a candle. But what you said about it breaking the container or whatever it's sitting on, that's exactly what happened. I left the office that night. It burned all the way down, and it had a metal piece in the candle, but it actually burned down, split the plate it was on. And when I came in the next day, I realized something was very wrong, and I looked at it Unfortunately, my desk didn't go up in flames, but it literally burned down like a piece of charcoal, a good 1/4 of an inch, if not a little deeper, in an area about that big into the top of my desk. So if you think you're being careful and you've got the plate and whatever, no, it does happen. So be very, 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 very careful. And I almost threw up when I came in and looked at my desk, thinking what could have happened. So that
Wow.
was really scary. So it does happen.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. It's definitely
welcome.
scary. It's definitely, I mean, I've even done it to where I've have a very low burning candle and I come out the next morning and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to, blow that out. And luckily they don't sell them anymore, but back in the day they were selling these gel candles and they were kind of clear, like transparent, and they would put little decorations in them because they were, it was very cute. Those were proven to be extremely flammable. So they, those would burn through their containers a lot, or they would just kind of send out sparks. So they stopped making those and
Yeah.
selling those, but yeah, it's very dangerous.
And the other ones, I don't know if they're still selling them, but they were quite popular. They actually melted. They were like in a pot and they put off a nice scent and it would kind of bubble, but actually large bubbles would form in it. And then it would, the wax, the melted wax or whatever the material was, it would shoot up like it was a mini volcano. And I had that happen and it went all over my desk as well. So yeah, be careful.
Thank you for that.
Perfect. And then we actually have one question in the chat for you, Laura. The question is, where can we get rope ladders for second-story apartments?
They have foldable, I would actually recommend they have like foldable metal ladders, and Susie might be able to address this as well, but they do have like one, they're kind of foldable and they're metal, so they're a little more sturdy than rope. And I've seen those, I would say an emergency supply store. You can Google where those are online, or even maybe Amazon, but they do have some small emergency preparedness supply stores around, and I would imagine that they would have those. I wonder if Home Depot might have something like that, but they do have ones that they kind of fold up to store, and then you can put them out the window and they unfold, and they're metal, so that, like I said, they'd be a little bit more sturdy to climb down than a rope.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
I don't have any further questions in the chat for you. So, well, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for introducing Lily to the group.
Trying to keep her calm. She just said hi.
So thank you again, Laura and Willie. But we'll go ahead and move forward to our next presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and then I will go ahead and introduce our next presenter. So let me go ahead and do this. Please. Sorry again, guys. Thank you for your patience. A lot of buttons to click. Okay. Alrighty. So now I am happy to bring up our next presenter, which is Susie Dobson, and she is our emergency preparedness coordinator, and she's going to go ahead and give a presentation about CERT and BERT. So Susie, please feel free to share your screen and your presentation. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing so you can share it. There you go. Oh, Susie, you're muted.
Whoops, there we go. I'm a hometown girl, and I moved away for a while to go to college and then moved back in about 2002. But I've been involved in CERT since about 1997, where I was involved in it in the city I lived in at the time. And when I moved back to Monrovia, I was excited because they started a program not long after I came back. So my background since moving back is I was a CERT volunteer which is Community Emergency Response Team. And then eventually I was brought into the fire department as the volunteer coordinator. And now I'm the emergency preparedness coordinator. So I have a bit of a personal commitment to community preparedness because I grew up here and I still live here. So I'm going to talk about the Community Emergency Response Team, LISTOS, and our Business Emergency Resiliency Training. So you may see our CERT volunteers. Oops. Nope. Can't use my mouse. You may see our volunteers around town. We do community educational booths, but our real mission is disaster volunteers. We were in the EOC helping out during the Bobcat fire. We made phone calls to elderly and disabled residents who were on the list that someone asked about earlier. And that is a self-registry, and you give as much information as you are comfortable sharing with us that helps us know what you might need or that you're alone and need help in a disaster. So we were calling people during when we went to evacuation warning and letting people understand what that meant and what they needed to do, and that they needed some extra time perhaps to get ready to get out of the fire zone. We also used that list during COVID-19, and we did welfare checks on everyone on the list and made sure that they were aware of any community programs like Meals on Wheels that maybe they wouldn't have normally used, but with the lockdown they might need. Our very first deployment was in the windstorm of, I can't remember, it was 2010 or 2011. So that was our very first deployment as a CERT. And that was kind of fun because we were helping with roadblocks, we were picking up debris that had fallen down, and we've worked several wind events since then. And a lot of times that entails babysitting down power lines so that the first responders can go on and continue doing their job while we're waiting for Edison to be there. Other things we do is we are part of the smoke detector installation team. And not only do we do the quarterly events where the whole department comes together and does that, we have a team of people who will go out and go to your individual home anytime and install smoke detectors for you through the same program with Red Cross and Kit of Fire Alarms. So I have that email at the end of my presentation for you. It's also in Dylan's city manager's update every week, but it's smokealarm@ci.monrovia.ca.us. And then we also help with traffic management. You'll see us out during the Fountain to Falls. We would do some of the roadblocks. And then we also assist firefighters when they have a large fire. And we can do what's called firefighter rehab, which is after they work for a certain amount of fire inside with those breathing apparatus that we're replacing this year, they need to take a break and their vitals are checked. We make sure they're still doing okay. We have snacks, we have water, we have a misting fan that was donated by Rotary. We have a whole trailer that we can take and it's ready to go and help the firefighters out whenever they have a very large fire. And we've even used it for trainings where it's 105 and they were doing trainings and they needed that extra cooling to keep everybody safe. So those are some of the big things we do. Why are you seeing this with me? We don't need to see that. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to not show you. There we go.
You're good. We see your presentation.
Okay, it looked like I was seeing people too. So what we cover is personal preparedness in our class. We cover fire and utility awareness. So we get out the fire extinguishers and we practice with that. We learn how to turn off electricity properly and how to work around gas. We also do disaster medical operations. So it's not a first aid certification, but it is all about first aid in a disaster and then mass casualty response. So if something large happens, we can assist the fire department. We also do light search and rescue. which means we only go into lightly damaged buildings and we help people get out. We cover disaster psychology. It's very important to know how the disaster is impacting you and how it's impacting the people around you. CERT doesn't respond to terrorism, but we might be in a situation, we might be working an event where terrorism happens. So we talk about it and we include active shooter in that section. We talk about how our CERT is organized and how CERTs around the nation are organized and how they fit into our disaster and our emergency response system. And then our class ends with a large disaster drill, and the participants play all the roles from incident commander to medical to search and rescue. You do everything. And then it's not a test. It's all about learning more. And we have mentors with each group that go around. And if you have questions, you can ask and all of that. The picture in here is actually one of our recent classes, and they are removing someone from under a very heavy concrete block. So those are some of the skills that we learn in the class. So our newest program is Listos. It is whole family preparedness, from small children to grandma and grandpa. Everybody is welcome to the class. And we teach it in Spanish or English, and it is 8 hours long. We've been gathering names this past year to get enough people interested in the class, and we are in that point. So this year we will be scheduling classes for that. And we're super excited to roll this out. It's a really neat program. In this class, we cover identifying risks and hazards that are Monrovia specific. We talk about family communication and reunification, because we're not always in the same place when disasters happen. Again, just like CERT, we talk about fire and utility awareness and personal preparedness. We also cover basic first aid. Again, it's not a certification, but it's enough to keep you going in a disaster. We talk about organizing your home, organizing your family plan, everything that goes around your family being safe and working as a team to overcome whatever disaster you might be facing. And then again, we have emotional support, which is similar to the disaster psychological first aid. But this program is out of Santa Barbara County, and it is now going national. And we're excited to be one of the programs that is working with it. So stay tuned for dates on when we'll actually be offering classes this year. Our third program for community classes is Business Emergency Resiliency Training. It is a seminar series for Monrovia businesses. We have 6 3-hour classes, and it's about developing a culture of preparedness at your business. So it doesn't cover skills like CERT. It is much more geared towards planning and things of that nature. So our topics for that are emergency response system. That's how we operate and what happens when we show up at your business to assist you in a disaster or even something like a fire. It talks about what information we would like, things that are important, things you can do also as a business if you're large enough to want to have a business emergency operations center. A large business might want that, but we talk about scalability, small business versus large business. We also talk about employee preparedness and getting employees thinking in a preparedness mindset and things as a business you should be doing to be ready for your employees to be there if there's a disaster. We also do fire safety and utility awareness. We pull out the smoke, the fire extinguishers and the fire pan, and we do that in class. We also have Edison and the gas company come out and talk from a business perspective. And then we also talk about the Monrovia water system and how that works so that businesses understand the impacts of all of those things on their business. We also discuss emergency operations and continuity plans, which are 2 different things. Operations plans are how are we handling the disaster as it happens, and continuity plans are about surviving the disaster. How does our business continue operations during the disaster or immediately after the disaster? So we go over both of those things. And then our next session is exercise planning. And you don't have to have made it to the operations and continuity plans meetings for that. We do a standalone of preparing for the shakeout. The disaster and exercise planning class is actually in September, which gives you a month to be prepared for your company's shakeout, which helps you with going back to that employee preparedness and that culture of preparedness. And then our last class of the session is terrorism, crime, and safety. And the police department comes out and assists with that. They do a conversation on active shooter. We do stop the bleed training as part of this class. And then we do talk about terrorism awareness and things of that nature. So that's essentially what we cover in our 3 classes. So there's a variety of needs in Monrovia, and we try to meet those with the shorter class that's family orientated, the longer class that allows you to get more skills, and you can become part of our team if you're interested. And that's the CERT class. That's our longer 24-hour class. It's across 3 Saturdays. I'm thinking I skipped that slide. And it's anyone 16 and over. We do it in spring and fall. Our next class will probably be January, February. And if someone who is 16 or 17 wants to take the class, they do need to do it with a parent. We had a couple of high schoolers in it this year, and they did a great job. It was actually really beneficial, I think, to the whole team to work that way. So preparedness next steps, take a class, whether it's CERT, BERT, LISTOS, whatever's appropriate. Bring a friend or family member, get somebody else involved. And then after your class, you can apply to be one of our volunteers, either for CERT or for LISTOS. We are definitely interested in more Spanish language instructors for LISTOS. We have 3, but 2 are currently a little bit busy and unavailable. So I know Antonio would like some help with being able to teach the Spanish course. So we'll be offering LISTOS first in English to because that's the most trainers we have, and then we'll move to Spanish once we have a couple more trainers available. You can sign up for our course notification list for any of the 3 classes by emailing me directly, and you get priority registration. We send out a registration link early to people on our list. And then if the class doesn't fill, then we publish it to the general public. The classes always come out in Dylan's city manager's update. So that's another way, if you're already getting that, to keep on track. And then our smoke alarm email that we talked about is smokealarm@ci.monrovia.ca.us. And then if you would like the elderly or disabled registration form, you can email me directly and I'll send it out to you, or you can check our website for the form. And I believe that is it. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Perfect. I think just looking in the chat, we don't have any questions, but it's more so just a lot of appreciation for CERT. So let me go ahead and read them off because it's definitely well deserved. Love that CERT is offered to Spanish speakers and local businesses. And then Councilmember Crutchington said, thanks for your wonderful ongoing contribution to our community. Definitely. Thank you so much, Susie and the entire team for all of your hard work in our community.
So Alex, I want to clarify something really quick.
Sure.
CERT isn't in Spanish yet, but
Okay.
LISTOS is. So
Okay.
I just want to make that super clear. I would love to do Spanish language LISTOS, CERT, but we don't have enough volunteer instructors yet. But that would be awesome to be able to do down the line as we get more instructors.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe to any of our MAP leaders out there who are Spanish speaking, that would be something else to be really involved in, and great to give back to your community in that aspect. So Thank you so much, Susie. Really appreciate it. And again, there's no questions, just nothing but great job. So thank you, Susie. We'll go ahead and move on with the rest of the meeting.
Thanks,
But
everyone.
thank you again. Applause to all of our fire crew. So now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for the remainder of the presentation. So next is some map leader announcements, and I'm going to go ahead and bring a new face to the screen. As many of you know, Jessie Wu. She's going to take it from here.
Hello, everyone. Like Alex said, I am going to finish off the presentation with map leader announcements, map leader birthdays, and any last minute reminders, and then that's our meeting. So at this time, we're going to open up to any of the map leaders. If you have an announcement that you'd like to make, please raise your hand to share with the rest of our guests. Anybody? Any map leaders? Or just anybody that want to make an announcement that's in the meeting, feel free to do so. Raise your hand. If there's any events going on that you'd like to share. No? Okay then. All right. Now we're gonna do map leader birthdays, August, September, and October. If you have a birthday in August, September, and October, happy birthday. And if your name isn't on the list, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll go make sure to add you. Happy birthday to all of you guys. Yes, and we actually have 2 of our map team in September, Justin and Alex. They were both September birthdays, so happy belated to you guys too. And now we'd like you to save the date for our next MAP-edu meeting. It is going to be in person. So starting with our MAP-edu meeting in January, all of our MAP-edu meetings will be in person. So our next one is going to be on Thursday, January 12th, 2023 from 6:30 to 8 p.m. after work in the Monrovia Library Community Room. And registration for that will open this Monday, November 21st. And that meeting will be with the Pasadena Humane Society. They will address barking dogs in the neighborhood, dog waste cleanup, and wildlife encounters such as coyotes and bears. And please follow us on social media to stay connected with us. That's all of our contact information on there. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And thank you all for coming. That's it for our meeting today. Please be safe. Any questions, last minute questions? Hi, my daughter Candace Carrasco had a birthday on 10/18. Okay, we will definitely be adding that to our list, Candace Carrasco. Oh, and also, if you are a map leader, don't forget to log your hours onto our program, Track It Forward. This meeting is 2 points towards the next level, so don't forget to log your hours, guys. And that's it. Any questions? No comments, questions, concerns? No? Okay, then. Bye, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.